should we open the workshop?
I think we can.
I think,
Good morning.
I agree. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second Smart Specialization workshop, which has been organized within the Take It Slow project. My name is Gabriela Vidic, and I'm one of the team members from the University of Zadar, who was in charge of organizing this workshop. I'm very glad to welcome you all here. Last time we had a very interesting workshop last month, actually. So I will share my presentation and give you a short overview of the activities that we are going through today. So the aim of these workshops is to foster knowledge in the field of smart specialization in green, slow, and sustainable tourism for our stakeholders in Croatia and Italy, but also for our local communities of practices and other interested parties. We want to learn from good practices, and I'm sure that within this workshop, but also in the previous one and in the next one, we will hear a lot of good practices from all over the world, and especially Europe and our neighboring countries that we can implement within our project and other project activities. Shortly, our agenda for today. We will actually introduce the project activities within this opening session. My colleague from the Dubrovnik-Neretva County, as the leader in this project, Franica Miloš, will explain and describe more in detail the project activities. And our technical project manager, Katarina Kokic, will explain more issues related to registration, Q&A sections, etc. I'm very glad that we have two experts in the field of sustainable tourism, green tourism today, and this is one Iva Tolic from the Institute for Development and International Relations, and Maša Klemencic from the Slovenian Tourist Board. So you will hear a lot of good practices that you maybe will be able to implement in your regions and destinations. So I'm sure that you will have a lot of questions and comments for them too. But before we start this workshop, I just want to stress that this event is being recorded because of the project activities, and we will publish the recording on our official YouTube channel, where you can also find the first workshop. Also, registration is necessary because we have some project documentation activities. So please be so kind and fill out the registration form. During the whole workshop, you can put your questions or comments in the Q&A section, but you will hear about that a little bit later from Katarina. If you need more information about our project activities, you can visit one of our official social media channels, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or our official website, if you need any further information. And as I mentioned before, for any other details related to the project, please write or ask Katarina or me or Franica at the moment, but you can also write an email to Katarina Kokic. And before we start the second, as I mentioned, workshop, I would like to announce also that in 2 weeks, we will organize the third in the cycle of this workshops, the third Smart Specialization workshop, which will be also organized online. And this is from me I would like to invite, before we start with the lectures and presentations, my colleague from Dubrovnik, Franica, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gabriela. Good morning, everyone. And on behalf of Dubrovnik-Neretva region, I would like to welcome you all to our second Smart Specialization workshop. And thank you very much, University of Zadar, for organizing very successful the first one, and hopefully all our participants are going to have fruitful day to day and find the lectures useful for daily business activities. So Dubrovnik-Neretva region is a lead partner in Take It Slow project, which is strategic bilateral tourism project implemented under Interreg Italy-Croatia cross-border program. Take It Slow involves, together with the Dubrovnik-Neretva region, acting as a lead partner, 12 partners from Adriatic Croatia and Italy. So the core of the project is partnership between public, private, and scientific sector who are working together to redevelop tourism value chain based on smart specialization strategy. So I think we are going to hear today the explanation of the tourism value chain and redeveloping or developing it, as well as what is smart specialization in tourism and how we can apply it in our everyday activities. Hopefully we will have opportunity to see each other in person. Due to COVID situation, unfortunately, we are forced to organize these workshops online, but we are looking forward to have actually one of the meetings together so we can discuss the results of the workshops. So thank you very much for attending. We are here for any questions you may have, and I think we can continue now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Franica. Katarina would like to give you some instructions related to registration and other issues. Please, Katarina.
Thank you, Professor. So I would like to once again welcome you all in the name of the University of Zadar to the second Smart Specialization workshop. I'll just give a couple of technical information. So the link to the registration form will be placed in the chat right now, and please be so kind and fill it in. I will place it just a couple more times during the lectures and duration of the whole workshop, so you don't need to search for it in the chat. Regarding the communication between the attendees and panelists, please write all your questions, suggestions, comments, and so on in the Q&A. So the Q&A can be found on the bottom part of the screen. So all of the notifications from us will be placed in the chat, and your questions and comments can be placed in the Q&A session, and then we'll have a good insight into all of the questions. So that will be sort of the way of the communication, is to make sure everything flows smoothly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katarina. So I think we can start with the official program. Pardon. As I mentioned, I have the pleasure to introduce you to the first of our two experts in the field of sustainable, green and slow tourism. And the first one, our first presenter for today is Ms. Iva Tolic. Iva Tolic graduated from the Faculty of Economics and Business at the University of Zagreb in 2017, and has been working at the Institute for Development and International Relations in the Project Support Center since 2018. From last year, she is a PhD candidate at the PhD program in economics, joint program from the University of Innsbruck and the Johannes Kepler University Linz. And she is a real expert in the field of sustainable development, sustainable tourism, environmental protection, climate change, and bioeconomy. She has published several articles with different topics, co-authored monographs, and since 2018, since she has been working in the Institute, her work is related to sustainable development, innovations, and sustainable tourism. So I think you will have a very interesting presentation to hear. And so Eva, the floor, the online Zoom floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you see my presentation? Okay, great. So hello everyone, I'm very glad to be here, and I would much more prefer if we could meet in person, especially during this heat wave somewhere in Zadar or something, but we need to do it this way. So thank you, Gabriela, for a nice introduction. And as Gabriela said, I've been working in the Institute for International for Development and International Relations for 2.5 years, and in that time I've been working on many projects related to tourism. And today I will present you some of the conclusions and summary of the innovations in sustainable tourism, which are the results of one of the projects I was participated in. And before we start, I would also like to thank to Dr. Sanja Tišma and Dr. Daniela Jelencic, who helped me to make this presentation. Dr. Sanja Tišma is director of the Institute, and Daniela Jelencic is project manager in front of IRMO at this project. So I will start now with my presentation. Here is the content. First, I will give a short introduction where I will give you some basic definitions of tourism, sustainable tourism, and innovation. And in this part, I will also put some questions I would like to answer during this presentation. Then I will tell you something about innovations in sustainable tourism, innovations in sustainable tourism in the Adriatic-Ionian region, where also Croatia and Italy are part of. And then I will get to the probably the most interesting part of the presentation, especially for entrepreneurs and private sector, the coronavirus crisis, how it affected tourism and sustainable tourism, and also give you some examples of entrepreneurial innovations in tourism. And at the end, I will conclude my presentation and give some recommendations for the private sector. Okay, so let's start with the introduction part. So here is the very, very long definition of World Travel Organization. What is tourism? So I won't read the whole definition to you, but the main point of this definition is that tourism is when you leave your place where you stay, where you live. And that brings one of the questions I would like to answer. What happened to tourism during the COVID-19 pandemic? So does it mean that during the lockdown we didn't have the tourism? Well, probably yes, but as you will see later from some of the examples, there is now a so-called staycation, which I will explain later. And another question I would like to ask now, does the definition of tourism has to be changed? Because we are facing many challenges, and as you will see later, the tourism doesn't have to be only when you're leaving your town, when you're going to some other places. Then here is a definition of sustainable tourism, also from World Travel Organization, which says that tourism, sustainable tourism is the one that takes full account of its current and economic, social and environmental impacts, which addresses the needs of visitors, industry, the environment, and host communities. Now, those are the sustainable tourism and tourism definitions. And what are innovations? How are innovations connected to tourism? So according to Schumpeter, innovation is the practical implementation of ideas that result in the introduction of new goods or services, or improvement in offering goods or services. So usually innovation are in the society taken as something complicated, something big, something usually connected with technology. But the other question is, does innovation always have to be complicated? No, it doesn't. Because innovation, as you see from the definition, is not only some technological progress, it's not new mobile phone, new augmented reality device, something. It can be only some change in the way of doing business or something. So what are innovations in sustainable tourism? As you can probably imagine, innovation in tourism has until recently been relatively neglected, especially in our area, Croatia, Italy, other Mediterranean countries, where tourism was mostly based on so-called sun and sea and a rich cultural, maybe natural heritage, but there was nothing new to offer to tourists. And as you can know probably from your own experience, it gets boring. Let's be honest. I mean, you can enjoy sun and sea maybe 2 to 3 days, or if the destination can only offer you sun and sea or some cultural heritage, you can see it once, but you won't come back. So the need for change occurred, and those changes in tourism innovation can generate positive practices, which will in the end lead to the greater sustainability of the tourism offer. So some of the definitions again, what innovations in tourism most often include, those are, they can be production innovation, process innovation, logistical and market innovations. So production innovations refer to new products and services that have been developed. So the Take It Slow project can be related to production innovations. Then process innovation, there are just new ways of delivering existing tourist services, while logistical innovation refers to new ways of providing also already existing products and services to tourists, while market innovations are just new marketing methods or market behavior. So we know that innovation recently have been strongly supported, especially by the European Union, and they're also part of the research and innovation development strategy, which was part of the previous financial period, 2014 to 2020. And the strategy had three objectives. Those were open innovation, open science, and open world. But as already mentioned, which is such a common view, in the field of tourism, activities regarding innovations are primarily focused on innovation that can influence the digital transformation, which means that some kind of technological process, some kind of digital innovation. And in the current financial period, 2021 till 2027, this will continue, and especially since this situation with the coronavirus crisis. But the thing is that even after recovery, digital communication and digital solutions will remain key to maintain business. So we all know that how our life changed in last 1.5 years, and we know that most of the business, including tourism, have turned to digital communication. I mean, this workshop is a really good example of it. And but we need to keep in mind that hopefully this situation will pass, and we need to know that digital innovations are often very expensive, and not especially some SMEs are not often able to give that kind of innovation. So there are also some small things that can be seen as innovation, not related to digital communication and digital solutions, but I will tell you something about it later, how each of you can, doesn't matter your size, your capabilities, can include some kind of innovation to your business. And to end this part of the presentation, one of the most common products in innovations in tourism relates to the creation of experience through some augmented reality devices, virtual reality devices, and so on. Now I will give you some examples of innovations in sustainable tourism in the European Union, also worldwide. So first example is Future Hotel Svart in Norway. So the hotel is will be built in special energy principles, which means that it will be using the water energy to produce electrical energy, and its energy needs will be 85% less than the typical modern hotels. The opening is expected in 2023, and as you can see in the picture, not only that it is very environmentally friendly, it's very attractive. So there is a wooden structure in the middle of fjord, which is circular in shape and gives panoramic view through large windows from all perspectives. Second example of innovation in sustainable tourism are from Faroe Island, and this example will answer the question: does what happened with tourism in the coronavirus pandemic time? So this example is actually presenting the virtual tour of the island through the eyes of the local residents. So it goes like this. Person who wants to travel gets the application, and that tool enables the remote touring. So the tourist connects to the video camera, which is carried by a local resident around the island. He only needs his mobile phone, tablet, or computer, and he tells the local resident where he wants to go and what he wants to see. And there is also a possibility to have a bird's eye view from a helicopter or drone. So this example is telling us that tourism doesn't have to be when you leave your place staying. So this kind of tourism, so-called staycation, can also bring the value to the destination. Third example is also made during the coronavirus crisis in order to reduce physical contact among people. So there is the application called My Street Book, and in Madrid, which gives the personalized solutions for touring the city. So the person puts personal interests in the application. So you say you want to go sightseeing, are you interested in cultural heritage, natural heritage, sports, clubbing, whatsoever, and application connects your personal interests with external conditions, with your way of transport you're using, with accessibility, timetable, and so on. And the last example from this group of examples is also something that happened during the COVID-19 pandemic, the project Agile Interpretation English Heritage, where around the cultural and natural heritage sites, there are placed leaflets like this, where there are QR codes that allow tourists to independently load the interpretative messages using their mobile phones. And it was also used, it was also developed with the aim of reducing physical contact. Now I will present you some innovations in sustainable tourism in the Adriatic-Ionian region. So Adriatic-Ionian region consists of 9 countries, 4 EU countries and 5 candidate countries. So those are Croatia, Italy, Slovenia, Greece as EU members, and Serbia, Montenegro, Albania, North Macedonia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina as member countries. So the main strategic document of the Adriatic-Ionian region is so-called EUSAIR, which has four pillars. And one of the pillars, pillar 4, is related to sustainable tourism, and it is focused on the development of sustainable and responsible tourism potential in the region through innovative and quality tourism products and services. So there are 4 types of innovation and innovative processes in the Adriatic-Ionian region. So those are planning and stimulating the content of destinations. So those are actually innovations in the sustainable use of content, evaluation, presentation, and interpretation of natural and cultural attractions. The other group are infrastructural contents of destination that are actually innovations and innovative processes in accommodation, catering, traffic, informative contents, and new technologies in application. Other group are supported activities destinations, which are only some innovations in activities. And the last group are innovations in relations with the local community through participatory and interactive models of cooperation. So in the framework of the evaluation of EUSAIR strategy, there were 24 programs that included 313 projects related to sustainable tourism. Each of those projects have been analyzed, and out of them, only 88 projects introduce some kind of innovation. As you can see from the figure, we analyzed national operational programs in all 9 countries in the Adriatic-Ionian region, and also some regional operational programs. Then there were projects from Adrian program, Interreg cross-border cooperation programs, Interreg Mediterranean, Life and Horizon program. And as you can see, most of the sustainable tourism projects were conducted in the framework of regional and national operational programs and Interreg cross-border cooperation programs, which also included the IPA cross-border cooperation programs, and the largest number of innovation was in those cross-border cooperation programs. So this is just some basic information, but as you can see from this figure, the largest number of innovation was in the group, one of the groups I presented before, innovations and innovative processes in the management of EUSAIR destinations, followed by planning and encouraging innovative processes for development of business models and sustainable tourism products in the LSA area. And there were also 3 projects among those 88 that combined multiple types of innovation and innovative processes. I will now show you some examples of the projects that included some innovations in sustainable tourism, but it won't take long, just a few slides. So first of the projects I would like to show you is the Smart Heritage Project, which was financed under the Adrian program. And the project's main objective was to promote, valorize, and protect cultural heritage in the area. And specific objectives were to raise tourism attractiveness and to reduce tourism seasonality in the project area, which is one of the problems most of the Mediterranean countries are facing. So the scope of the project was to generate a deeper awareness of the cultural heritage, by applying and implementing multimedia ICT tools, and also by creating unique tourism products that unifies the program area. So the one example of innovation in this project is those multimedia ICT tools, which serve for the digitalization of cultural heritage. As you can see from the pictures on the slide, those are just those are holograms of the cultural heritage in the area. And innovative and unique cultural tourism product of the project was the creation of the Smart Heritage Cultural Route, and also by digitalization of cultural heritage, it led to the safeguarding and promoting the less known cultural heritage assets that often remain hidden. So in the framework of the program, the tourists were all actually, if there was a crowd at the most popular cultural heritage sites, they were actually told to visit some other places that are not so popular, but also have a rich cultural heritage value. Another example is the project Innovative Medical Tourism Strategy in MedTour, which was financed under the cross-border cooperation Interreg program Italy-Greece. And the project promoted an innovative and increasing kind of tourism, so-called health tourism or medical tourism, which represents an innovative touristic offer because it gives the possibility to the relatives or friends to the patients to enjoy the area. And the project is considering not only the needs of the patients, but also the needs of the tourists, their friends, their supporters. So it's also some kind of innovation because it is focusing on not only some medical part of the tourism, but also to offer to the friends, to the relatives, to anyone who is traveling, to the patients, to have something to do, to have something to see, to get some positive experience during the trips that are usually negative because they have some medical reason behind it. Also, another innovation of the project is e-cluster that was created. So medical information from Italy and Greece are stored on one place where a person can not only see what is offered, but also they can leave their impressions, and other people can see the know-how, see the good practices, see what happened in the place. And the last project I will present you in this last example I present you in this part of my presentation is the project called Innoculture, which is financed under cross-border cooperation Interreg program Italy Croatia, and its aim was to increase the visibility and immediate identification of 8 less known cultural heritage sites. So the activities of the projects were focused on active involvement of creative industries, local population, and major stakeholders. All stakeholders that were dedicated to the presentation of natural cultural heritage. And the innovation of the project is that it supports the integration of traditional cultural offer with information and communication technology, and also it is improving the virtual accessibility of the natural and cultural destinations involved in the project. And now the probably most interesting part of my presentation, the coronavirus crisis and some entrepreneurial innovations in tourism. So what happened during the coronavirus? So we were locked in our houses. We needed to reduce the physical contacts. Most of the people couldn't see their elderly parts of the family. So we were kind of not only endangered by the coronavirus, but also in our psychological state wasn't very good, and was very important to very large number of people. There was no traveling, so tourism was not existing, which led to some changes in the tourism sector. So those changes can be grouped in three groups. Those are market change, product change, and consumption change. So market change actually means that there was no more need for actually there was a need, but there was not possible to travel to maintain the tourism that we know. So greater resilience to the coronavirus crisis was shown by so-called soft tourism. Some kinds of soft tourism, creative tourism, green tourism, experience, and long-distance tourism without physical travel. So creative tourism and experience tourism are something that you create on your own. You can you don't have to leave your place of stay. You don't have to leave your country. You can just go around your country if it's allowed and create something, see something that is different. Another resilient sort of tourism was so-called green tourism. We all know that during this situation we were all searching for some kind of comfort or running away in nature. So in this part, the green tourism was actually very helpful. And already mentioned long distance tourism without physical travel was the example I show you from the Faroe Island, and the example why I mean that the tourism definition that I opened this presentation with in this situation has to be changed, because tourism developed very much, and as we've seen in this situation, and I don't want to be negative, but it is possible that this situation would last. It's possible that during our lifetime there will be more situations like this. So it doesn't have to mean that tourism doesn't have to be possible for us, just in different ways. So to go back to my topics, so market change that happen is so-called staycation. I already said that people are not leaving their place of staying. They're just visiting it. They're just going around their place or using some devices to virtually visit other places. Product change happened since the priorities changed. We are not only now needing the traveling. The most important thing is so-called well-being, so that we're happy with our life, that we're healthy, that people around us are healthy, and that led to the product change. And consumption change is that most of the people who are now traveling are trying to avoid the mess, trying to avoid a lot of people, trying to avoid the physical contact, which led to the traveling out of season, which actually can be a quite good situation for the Mediterranean countries, especially Croatia, where we know that a peak of the tourism is due since June till August, maybe September. So now I will try to answer the question: how can the entrepreneurs deal with the changes in tourism due to the coronavirus? And can the coronavirus crisis actually positively affect to the entrepreneurs? So the example for the market change is from Verona, the Toccati Festival, which is usually organized by Italian Association of Traditional Games of Verona. And during this situation, during this pandemic, the new markets opened. So they tried to orient to the domestic and not always a classic tourist market. So during the lockdown time, they provided the games for socializing in the isolation. So instead of the tourists, they proposed that local residents in the time of lockdown can play games at home, and those games can have a positive impact on reducing stress and anxiety, but also have a positive impact with preserving and reviving authentic and tangible cultural heritage. And actually this market change when they turned to the local residents led to the two positive impacts. One of them is well-being for citizens, because during playing that games, they were not thinking about the situation they were in. That was kind of a stress relief, and also led to the preservation and revitalization of intangible cultural heritage. And in the end, it led to the new audience development. So the games were not only now the tourist attraction, they were not used only for needing new tourists, offering tourist content, but also to the local residents. The product change example happened in numerous museums. So one of the examples is Victoria and Albert Museum in London, where there was an initiative to collect exhibits related to the pandemic COVID-19. And COVID-19 was the focus of all exhibitions that were provided to the residents and visitors. And also there was one very, very nice example, the House of European Histories, their project. They collected the rainbow posters in the European cities in order to show solidarity during the coronavirus crisis. And as you can see in the picture, there is a very nice, message of solidarity. I see true color shining through. And the consumption change, probably the thing I said mostly during this presentation. Staycation, traveling from home, is it tourism? So according to my view, as I said, I have not so large, but also I have enough experience in tourism products and tourism projects, and also my master thesis is related to sustainability. So I would say that, yeah, we need to have in mind that the whole world is changing, and that remote tourism is also some kind of tourism. You can, even though you're not there, it's not the same feeling, we need to admit it, but also you can see something new. You can visit some destination you will maybe not have the opportunity in the future. And I will say that remote tourism really is a tourism. And I will say that this example of the Faroe Island, but also from the British project, I would take it. I would say that it is a good example what should happen later, because we need to know that this situation can last. This crisis, we know what is happening with factories, with the prices because of one electronic component, because the factory burned out. There was one electronic component which is used for production of almost everything. And as I probably, again, I don't want to be negative, but it's possible that after this coronavirus crisis, big financial crisis is coming. So in this way, you can offer something to visitors who will not be able to travel. And also, this solo tours, specific interpretation of the heritage is also another example of consumption change during this crisis. And some other entrepreneurial innovations in tourism. So it's actually important to, again, recall what I said. Innovation doesn't have to be something large. It can be just a change of perspective. Here I have one of the actually so easy innovation, which is related to tourism. So one hotel owner decided to decrease the price of a room rental when booking is made later in the day. So the later in the day the booking is made, there is the later in the day the time passes, it is the smaller possibility that the room will be rented. So he decreased the prices, and this strategy proved to be successful in good and bad times, because his occupancy rate is more than 90%. So I don't know exactly who are our attendees, but the average occupancy rate in the hotels is around 50%. So 90% is actually really great. And just this small change led to the very good business doing. And the other innovation, entrepreneurial, is related to culture, where actually the innovation is that ticket fees are free. Artists give away the money they get for the exhibition, for the show, but the audience pay for purchase of equipment, for arranging the scene, for tour and artist pensions. So some these examples are showing you that there is just need for some small change. There is just a need for a change of perspective to be better in doing the business, to get some small innovation that will lead to the successful business doing. And here we come to the end of our presentation. So first thing I would like to conclude that development of sustainable tourism is facing many obstacles, which is something that the partners of the Take It Slow projects probably know. So there are many reasons for that. Some of them are inadequate knowledge and skills about the forms of sustainable tourism, also lack of innovative activities, inadequate quality of tourism, and maybe the largest problem, the poor implementation of sustainable development policy and responsible tourism concepts. Also, there is another obstacle is low level of accessibility to attractions for visitors with special needs. And it's unfortunately that these weaknesses are even greater with the regard to current global threats such as climate change. So already boring COVID-19 pandemic, since we're all talking only about it, and seismically sensitive area Croatia and Italy. Also, there is still a low level of application of innovations in tourism. So there is a lack of knowledge about innovations and their role in sustainable tourism development. So innovations are mostly seen as something related to technological progress, to ICT, to digital technology. And as you saw from the presentation, it doesn't have to be. It's not, of course, digitalization is extremely important, and it's the way of living today, but innovation can be something small, can be something that is not only related to ICT and digital technology. Also, another obstacle for application of innovation is weak cooperation at all levels and the lack of effective incentives for innovation. And finally, we came to the question, did COVID-19 positively affect innovations in sustainable tourism? I mean, we see from the examples that it did. Even though I'm all the time saying it's not only about the digital, in this time it was about the digital. And I say that those digital solutions, ICT, brought to the situation where people could virtually travel, could see some cultural heritage sites, can do something that helped them deal with the situation, to forget the stress they were facing and just to think about some better times. And what I would like to end with are some recommendations, especially for private sector. So first recommendation is always invest in the development of knowledge, always invest in the education about innovations and innovative processes in sustainable tourism, because as I already said in the introductory part, you can offer only sun and sea. You can't offer only rich cultural heritage. To get your tourists back, to get visitors back, you can be boring. There need to be something that will be new, that will be innovative, that will lead to the situation that people want to come back, want to again visit the site. And second recommendation is to develop and strengthen the cooperation between entrepreneurs and country, and also between entrepreneurs themselves, because clusters are also recommended by the European Union, but not only because they're recommended by the European Union, they're also a way how small entrepreneurs, small and medium enterprises can actually, by cooperation with others similar like them can actually get a larger market share. Also, I would like to recommend you to follow the web pages of regional development agencies in order to apply to the projects related to your business, to not only to be a project partner, because those are mostly bigger enterprises, being bigger entrepreneurs, but maybe to get the opportunity to be part of their pilot project or something, just to see how you can, you as a small figure at the market can get your share of it. You can get some benefits of it. And also, I'd like to recommend to think about changing the perspective. So to use this COVID-19 pandemic to seek the opportunities on the change market. And of course, not to forget that the key concept for tourism is sustainability. So the combination of social, economic, environmental, and cultural factors. You need to combine all of them to get the leadership position. And thank you very much for your attention. I hope I wasn't too boring with the COVID-19, with my staycation is also tourism and something, and I'm very looking forward for the questions in this session. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Eva, for this very interesting and useful presentation. I think our attendees had a lot of questions. I think we have one. Katarina?
Yes, so Mr. Tomislav Klarin would like to talk. Okay.
Tomislav, we can't hear you very well because your voice is somehow changed a bit. I think you have some technical problems. Maybe we can answer some other questions and then put in Tomislav again. Borna has a question.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
okay,
please.
First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Tolic for her very interesting and useful presentation. And regarding this COVID-19 pandemic, you didn't bore us at all. And that's the fact why I have, not so much of a question, but I would like to hear some observations, because when talking about the innovations, entrepreneurship and tourism, it's extremely important to address the context. So it's impossible to talk about the tourism nowadays and pretend like COVID-19 didn't happen. So you've been talking about these market changes, product changes, and consumption patterns that have been changing in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis. So as much as perhaps sounds harsh, I think that this COVID-19 pandemic is some kind of blessing in disguise, especially when considered from the perspective of our project. So we're talking about the changing of the tourism policies in the long term. In the long run, we're talking about the opportunity recognition and the highlight of the rural areas, islands, remote areas. We want to move away from this mass tourism and shift the focus on the more remote areas in rural areas. So smart people tend to learn from the previous examples and mistakes. So in 2005, I believe, when the avian flu was at the peak, some of the national tourism organizations have been conducting surveys, and they found out that the businesses in rural areas will have greater opportunities to attract new customers, since businesses in towns and cities may suffer from visitors' perception of risk because they don't wish to be in large cosmopolitan areas. So I would like to hear what do you think about our project, about our goals? How is it in line with all of these trends that you have emphasized? And is it good, or what do you think about it? Thank you.
Well, what I was telling all the time before I say my comments to the project is that Croatia is a small country, and the tourism is the most successful sector. But we can't rely only on Science Sea. We have so much to offer. We have such a strong cultural and natural heritage. We have so rich gastronomical offer, and I was always saying that I don't want someone to be offended or something, but it's not only Dubrovnik, it's not only Split, it's not only Zadar. There are also those small places. So before pandemic time, I was telling that we can't just rely on big cities, sun and sea, and so on. I'm usually a huge fan of natural heritage, of going to mountains, of visiting some small places, and even before pandemic, and just going to nature. And even before, I would really appreciate your project, and now during this situation even more, because it's something that stays. As I said, you can't rely on it. You need to have something to offer, and this is I don't know, as I said, I'm really huge fan of slow tourism, so I did some report on your project. Actually, I'm just sending one, and I really like the ideas, what you did. I really like the development of the gastronomical offer of Ravni Kotari, also the project, the part of the project related to Murter, the Air Open Museum. Those are something you can't see somewhere else, something that will bring the tourists, something that will bring but not tourists that are, I know, just coming because we're cheap. The tourists who are looking for something, who wants to experience something. And I think that that experience, tourism, is really important. So I don't know what to say other than that I really like your project and the project idea. And actually, I think you couldn't pick the better time to start with it.
Thank you for the answer. Borna, do you have other comments or questions maybe?
No, I would also like to thank, and I would like to finish with this, with what Ms. Tolly said. We couldn't have picked better time to conduct this kind of a project. So thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we should try again with Tomislav Klarin.
Yes, so Mr. Klarin.
Again, some technical issues.
Yes,
Sorry.
but two more attendees that would like to talk. Mrs. Mara Manente has raised her hand. Mrs.
Can you
Manente.
hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. I would like to congratulate Eva for the excellent presentation. I would like just to comment, to give also my point of view from our situation as a former director of CISET. Well, what we could verify during this year is that, well, first of all, there are some situations that are in the middle. They are not structural, maybe they remain conjunctural. So, for example, some behaviors from tourists will come back again. The problem of over-tourism against under-tourism. Well, I'm not so sure that we have understood what we have to do from this perspective. So maybe when the situation will improve, the same behaviors will come back. So what is what will change really and what will remain the same. From this perspective, the second comment is linked to the part of operators, of those that work in tourism. What we could verify is that frequently their reaction is not really innovative. It is just tactical. So very low level of strategies. From this perspective, we identified three main areas of innovation, Industry 4.0, but not only from the point of view of digitalization. The first is intelligence, which is something very important in order to take strategies. So to know exactly, and we have also understood how it is important to have information during this period and how to use information for strategy. The second point is linked to networking, how really to work for a successful networking. And the third one is linked to competencies. I think that this period gave us the idea that we have also to change our role as educators in terms of new ways to give information, how to work with the tourists. And this means also new competencies. So just a few feedbacks from our point of view. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Manente. I completely agree with you in all points. And that's actually the issue that's in sustainability always actual, because it's a very appealing concept to be sustainable in all these pillars. But when taking application into consideration, it's always the problem, how to apply and implement the sustainability in every pillar. Maybe Eva has some more comments to that, but thank you for the comment.
Yeah, because I don't know, we're all focusing on sustainability, and I think we need to focus on sustainability because it's important. We all see what is happening, and I know it's extremely hard to because when you say innovation, it only sounds like something very big, very huge, very time-consuming, very advanced, let's say, and it's hard for scientists, for regular people, for entrepreneurs, to deal with them, to try to, I don't know, they're maybe scared of some innovation. They don't know how to approach them, how to start. And also, I don't know, yeah, the problem is also with implementing them in strategies. And actually, I really hope that this new development strategy of Croatia will actually kind of try to include innovations, trying to encourage them.
Do you think, Eva, that maybe usual stakeholders and destinations think that innovations are expensive and therefore they don't implement them?
And that's probably the biggest reason, because they are not implementing. Because, as I said, when you say innovation, it sounds huge, it sounds expensive. People don't think that innovation can be something small, as I presented. They always mean virtual reality devices, something, and not something like I don't know, the room in hotel at 12 p.m. is, I don't know, 120, at 12 a.m. is 120 euros, and in 6 p.m. is 100 euros. That's the innovation. And it's important actually to simplify the term of innovation, to make it familiar to people, and that they're not afraid of it, just to change the perspective, as I said.
We have a couple of more questions. Maybe we would like to invite Antonia to ask the questions, and then we'll go through the Q&As in the box.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
First of all, thank you, Eva, for an excellent presentation. My question is regarding this consumption change. Do you have any knowledge of consumer reactions or actual response to the concept of traveling from home? Is there a demand for such a concept?
Well, actually, that's still new, and I still don't have some feedbacks, some data. Those are just examples I wanted to show you to get some idea what you can do, what can be implemented. But maybe you can leave your email, so I will try to find the answer and let you know, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonia, for your question and comment. We have some questions in the Q&A section. Tomislav asked, actually, what about other projects you have analyzed? What are they dealing with? You said 88 of them are dealing with innovation, and what about the others?
Well, others are, those are all sustainable tourism projects. So they're trying to do something in order to avoid mass tourism, in order to ensure the sustainability to there. But there was no, I was just going like, I took all the 313 projects and went through all of them and just looking, is there something innovative? So really 313 projects, I can say I remember everything. So it's really a lot of projects, but they were just, I don't know, some of them, as I remember from the Croatian operational program, competitiveness and cohesion and competitiveness. It was one project of rebuilding the cultural heritage sites of the pet of Frankopan and Zrinski, and they were just, it's not innovative. They were building something for tourists. They were making those, that pet was renovated, the castle was renovated, but it's not, they were making some exhibitions and so on, but it's not, there was no some kind of innovation, something that goes in one of those three groups I presented of innovations.
Thank you. And one more question from Tomislav. Do you have any real data results about projects you have presented, any real indicators of success? He probably means the sustainability of the projects itself.
Well, most of the projects that are in that group are still not over. So still there are no some an official output result or something. So most of them are till the next year implemented. So there are still no final results.
If there are no further questions, I would end with a question. What's your suggestion how to foster knowledge regarding or related to innovations in a destination, for accommodation facilities, for other stakeholders involved in tourism activities in a destination? Where should we begin?
Well, yeah, firstly, the local and regional governments should learn what are innovations, so they can transfer the knowledge further to the local residents. Then one of the greatest examples that I've been admiring for this 1.5 years are those workshops, where in the framework of some projects, all stakeholders, interested stakeholders are gathered in one group, and they are they're listening to something that is important to them. Even if it's not, they won't be here. So maybe someone who is here, who is listening to me, will get some idea to, I don't know, whatever is said, they will get some idea what he will do. He will tell to his neighbor, he will tell to his neighbor, and so on. So it's important to start sharing knowledge. It's important.
So we are on the right path, actually.
Yes. Yes. And this is not the first webinar I was talking about sustainability, green mobility, and so on. And there, I always somehow hope that the messages I present here will come to the more than those 60, 80 people who are listening to me.
For sure, especially when we put it on YouTube, and other stakeholders who couldn't participate today can watch it also later, and maybe Google also some of the examples that you stated. So I think that's a great possibility for them too. Thank you, Eva, for the great presentations and for the answers you gave us. I suggest we make a 15-minute break and then continue with the next presentation. If you have any further questions for Eva, you can write them also in the chat or in the Q&A box, or send us an email and we will send it to Eva. So thank you again. We will make then a 15-minute break till 10:45 and continue with the next presentation. Thank you. Hello back. I think we can proceed with our presentations and workshop. I would like to introduce our next presenter and lecturer, Ms. Maša Klemencic from the Slovenian Tourist Board. Ms. Klemencic oversees and coordinates the Green Scheme of Slovenian Tourism at the Department of Research and Development at the Slovenian Tourist Board. So she works very, very closely with destinations and tourist providers in order to boost sustainable tourism development on site. So she obtained degrees in languages and geography, where she specialized in tourism in protected natural areas, especially in the Alps. So I'm very honored to have the opportunity to introduce you to our attendees, and I hope we will learn a lot from Slovenia as the first green country in the world, actually, I think from 2016, if I remember correctly. So please, the floor is yours.
Hello, and thank you very much for the presentation. Yes, the development of sustainable tourism in Slovenia is quite strong, but I think we also have a lot to learn from countries like Croatia and Italy, who are really strongholds of tourism. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. So today I'm going to talk about the development of green and boutique products in Slovenian tourism, really on this business level, because at the Slovenian Tourist Board, we work closely with destinations as well as with tourism businesses and service providers. So first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about tourism in Slovenia in general, so you get the picture about our vision, who we are targeting, and so on. And then I would like to focus on three groups of products. These more sustainable green products that we present under the label Slovenia Green. Then our relatively new label, Slovenia Unique Experiences, and gastronomy products. We have been very active in this area since 2019. There have been a lot of developments. We are working very closely with restaurants. So this is why I would like to address this specifically. And then in the end, I'm going to talk about how we are planning to get back in the game after the coronavirus crisis. Just very shortly, this is the scheme where you can see our role in the development of Slovenian tourism. So as mentioned before, I'm coming from Slovenian Tourist Board. Slovenian Tourist Board is a public agency that works under the umbrella of the Ministry of Economic Development and Technology. So in Slovenia, we don't have a specific ministry dedicated to tourism. We work very closely with the Slovenian Spas Association, Slovenian Outdoor Association, and Slovenian Convention Bureau. And these are all associations that bring together businesses from different areas of tourism. And then we also work with smaller tourism product platforms, such as Agriturismi, or we call direct translation would be like open farms that tourists can visit. And we also work with historical towns and so on. And then me specifically, I work a lot with DMMOs. So these are more destination management and marketing organizations. So mostly on this management level. In Slovenia, we have defined 35 major destinations we work closely with. We have three main areas which we cover. So we have digital content marketing. This is the department of the Slovenian Tourist Board that runs our official tourism website, our social media networks, everything that concerns B2C promotion. Then we have the department for business communication. This covers B2B promotion, so business to business. They mostly work with tourism agencies and organizations. They organize workshops, promotional events. And then my department is the Department of Research and Development. So we are the department that runs, for example, the Green Scheme of Slovenian Tourism, the program of the Slovenian Unique Experiences, and we try to provide the content for the other two departments to promote further on. Okay. just a second. So the vision of Slovenian tourism that we set in our strategy that was published in 2017 is that Slovenia should become a global green boutique destination for discerning guests who are seeking a diverse and active experience, peace of mind, and personal benefits. Now, this is the vision that we set, and we wanted to fulfill it by 2021 when the current strategy runs out. And I think we did reach it in several ways, but not completely. So we have something still to strive for. More specifically, these were the three main pillars that we tried to address in the strategy. So improved recognizability and image of the country, sustainable growth, and higher added value. And especially for this third pillar, higher added value, we realized that we needed more boutique products. And in order to get this, we had to start working more closely with tourism businesses, with people who actually provide products and services on the terrain. And we still find this pillar quite challenging, because we mostly address it with workshops, education, programs, labels that I'm going to explain later on. But I think this is one of the most demanding areas in tourism, to really develop concrete offer on the terrain, because we can sell Slovenia abroad as green boutique and so on. But when a tourist comes, and if he can't book online a certain very boutique product, then this definition, this image of Slovenia wouldn't hold very long. So at first, what we did with this strategy in 2017, we first defined who we want to address in the future with these boutique products, because I think this strategic level is very important, even if it's a bit theoretical, if you want to then really develop concretely products. So Slovenia, we found, is most suitable for the three target groups that you see on the right. We define them as green explorers, social foodies, and urban consumers. So these are people who are who don't just want a regular vacation, but they want to discover something more. They want to be active. And we also decided to target these three groups because Slovenia, as I mentioned, is not as well known as Croatia or as Italy. So we found that people who are looking for Slovenia would be people who wanted to explore further and really maybe find some not so well-known locations, and people who are looking for new experiences or countries that aren't on their bucket list yet. And what we wanted to promote most was this green philosophy, because I think this is something that is very unique to Slovenia. We had to find something that was special for us because, for example, Croatia has one of the best coastlines in the world. You have this great sea and so on. And in Slovenia, we had to find something else that we would be distinctly known for. And we found that this is this really green character, this low density of population, forests, and so on. Based on this, we defined the 10 primary products that we wanted to develop. So here they are separated in three groups. And the first group is the one we are focusing on the most. So health and wellness, or Slovenian spas, outdoor products, and the MICE product. So we found that these three groups and categories have the biggest impact on the image of Slovenia and also the biggest impact on revenue. Then in the past few years, we have also been focusing on gastronomy and culture a little bit more. And the products in the third group, we also pay attention to them, but a little bit less. And in terms of geographical dispersal, we divided Slovenia in 4 different macro destinations with this strategy that was published in 2017. And also these geographical areas are defined based upon products. So these aren't statistical regions or some general geographic classification of Slovenia, but this is something we have defined at the Slovenian Tourist Board and at the Ministry of Economy. So we have Alpine Slovenia, Mediterranean and Karst Slovenia, Ljubljana and Central Slovenia, and Thermal Pannonian Slovenia. And each of these regions has specific products that it is known for. Just very shortly, so you get the idea of how strong tourism in Slovenia was in 2019. Of course, these numbers are quite lower than in Croatia or in Italy, but still it was going quite well for us. In 2019, 2019 was the 6th record year for Slovenian tourism. We reached over 6 million arrivals in total and almost 16 million overnight stays. And with this, we have already reached the goals of our strategy, but we didn't reach them in terms of tourism export, where we only reached to 2.75 billion euros. If you look at the share of overnights, according to the type of municipality, you can see that most people in Slovenia spend their time either in the capital, Ljubljana, at the seaside, in the mountains, or in spa resorts. And our most important markets are traditionally Germany, Italy, Austria, then also other European countries such as Benelux. And then, of course, in 2020, everything changed. So you can see that the arrivals and the overnights really fell. But what is most interesting here is if you look at the percentage of foreign and domestic arrivals and overnights, and you can see that the domestic ones really grew. I think we were one of very few European countries where domestic arrivals grew at this percentage. And I think this was one positive thing of the Corona crisis, because before most Slovenians went to spend their holidays abroad. And then last year, a lot of them stayed in Slovenia, and we hope this trend will continue in the future. Of course, not with this percentage. People will still go to spend their holidays abroad, but at least more than before. And markets stayed the same. So most people still came from Germany, Austria, and Italy. This is the recovery scenario. So we expect that we would get back to the numbers from 2019 by 2024. And this year will still be quite bad as expected. And then I think we should be back in the saddle by 2024. So in terms of marketing and how we sell and see Slovenia, our fil rouge of our promotion is our green philosophy, which I'm sure you have already heard of. So how did it start? First, we defined the USP of Slovenia. So what is unique about Slovenia? Because, for example, when I think about Croatia, I think about the islands and the seaside. When I think about Italy, I think about food and culture and the opera. And when I think about Slovenia, I mostly think about the countryside, mountains, forests, bears also. So we found that we have these very relevant green facts, but we wanted to systemize them. So that we wouldn't just promote Slovenia that it's green in general, but we wanted to say it is green because also people tend to really develop this philosophy. This is why we established this Slovenia green label. And I'm going to get back to it in a moment, but you should know that it's meant for service providers and for destinations, and it is based on global criteria. And this allows us to promote green abroad with very hard green facts. So our green journey began in 2009 already, when we first started in a very general way with research, analysis, strategies, and so on. There were lots of discussions. And the first documents that we published were sort of tips for hotels and service providers on how to be more green, how to take care of the water that they spend, electricity, and how to promote this green philosophy towards their consumers, towards their visitors. And then we only established the Slovenian Green Scheme in 2015. So the first call was published in 2015. And the Green Scheme is actually our national program for the development of sustainable tourism. It became a very important, very large umbrella-like system for all of our sustainable projects, because it first started out as a certification program in 2015. It is a certification program for natural parks, for tourism businesses, and for destinations. And when I talk about tourism businesses, there are many different labels that the businesses can apply for, such as accommodations, restaurants, travel agencies, and so on. So it is based on two levels. What makes it so unique is that it is a very comprehensive approach, and it is based on global criteria. So the destinations use the green destination standard, and service providers and businesses use different standards such as Travel Life, Green Globe, Green Key. Without having one of those certificates, they cannot join the scheme. This is what makes it globally acknowledged, and it also makes it much easier to promote, because then people know that it is not greenwashing, but it is actually based on global criteria. So for you, maybe the most interesting pillar would be this central one. As mentioned before, we have several different categories: accommodation, attraction, travel agency, beach, and cuisine. And service providers that want to join any of these categories, they have to first get one of these certificates, either Travel Life, Green Globe, Bio Hotels, and so on. At the moment, we already have 74 accommodation providers, 4 parks, 59 destinations, 8 travel agencies, 4 attractions, 17 restaurants already, and 1 beach. And here I would like to point out that when Corona hit last year in March, we were very scared that people wouldn't see the interest in the green scheme anymore, because we were sure that businesses and hotels had other problems, that they were mostly trying to keep their employees. They didn't know when they would be able to open again, and so on. And it also costs for them. It costs 150 euros to join the scheme, which is not a lot, but still. And I was really surprised last year in May when businesses and hotels started contacting me, and I think we got more applications for green scheme ever since than ever before. So I think people really used those few months of being closed to really look up these certificates and to see what they could do to improve their business. Also, I think they saw that if they put in some initial money and finances, they can save more money in the long run with these actions. And I think also coronavirus showed that people will be looking more for greener destinations, because I think people started to maybe equal green and safe. And I think this is becoming more and more of a selling point, so that if somebody promotes themselves as green, being located in the nature, in an open space, I think this is a big advantage. And I'm really, really glad that people didn't stop entering the green scheme because of the coronavirus, but they're more interested than ever. The main advantages for people who enter the green scheme for businesses is that the scheme really provides a tool for them to evaluate how sustainable they are, and for businesses and hotels, for example, to really evaluate which areas could be improved and where they could save more money and more energy. At the Slovenian Tourist Board, we then ensure more coaching and training for these businesses, but most of all, we include them very intensively in our communication channels. So this is also very important for us, that we have many businesses and destinations in the green scheme, because then when we promote Slovenia abroad at WTM in London or at ITB Berlin, we always promote ourselves as a green country. Our stand is always made of wood, it's always green, and we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have 74 accommodation providers that have the sustainable certificate and 59 destinations that have a global sustainable certificate. So we are always paying attention whenever we are choosing destinations or restaurants for international presentations. We always first think about those who got the Slovenia Green Label. And as an example, in 2 weeks' time, on July 3rd, or that is just 1 week and a half actually, we are hosting this event when Slovenia will start presiding the Council of the European Union. So it officially starts on the 1st of July, and then on the 3rd of July, we are welcoming 50 or 60 foreign journalists, and we are taking them on a special tourist tour around Slovenia. And what we when we first heard about this, that we had that we had to organize a study trip for foreign media, we first thought about green destinations. So now we are taking them to Vipava, which is a small town in Western Slovenia that has the Slovenia Gold label. They also have they have Slovenia Green Destination Gold label. They also have one Slovenia Green Cuisine restaurant, that is the Dvorec Zemono. They also have a Michelin star. They have a Slovenia Green accommodation. And this is what we are going to communicate most to these big European media. So this was about the green scheme. Next chapter is the Slovenia unique experiences. This is the second category that I'm going to talk about. I don't know if you have already heard about this program, because it's more recent than the Slovenian Green Scheme. It was established in 2018. It is a collection of unique, authentic experiences of premium quality that we find are the most representative of Slovenia as we want it to be. So that they support this vision of Green Boutique Slovenia that I mentioned in the beginning. These experiences are selected based on many many criteria that are quite hard to reach. And when an experience gets this label that you can see here on the picture, they can put it in all of their promotional channels. Now, these Slovenia unique experiences represent this newfound luxury. So luxury as we understand it, that isn't just big hotels and yachts and lots of money and Monte Carlo style of tourism, but mostly tourism that is based on experiences and not products, that is very personal, individual, so not mass tourism, that is authentic and very, very locally based, unique and rare. So these are experiences that you can only find in Slovenia and not in any hotel or any other hotel, for example, around the world. These are also experiences that are purposeful, because according to our research, we found that people nowadays are looking for, many people nowadays are looking for holidays that would also enrich them, and not just I don't know, see and then just 2 weeks of doing nothing. And then these are experiences that are very modern, very convenient, guided, so you don't have to worry about anything, but still you have your independence and something that is surprising. So that really stays with you for a long time. Challenges that we wanted to address with this new Slovenia Unique Experiences label, we found that in Slovenia, we had too few saleable experiences. So we were able to market Slovenia as green because we had, for example, green hotels that follow these green standards that I mentioned before, but they didn't offer any experience. So it was mostly just a hotel. The Slovenian offer wasn't distinctive enough. Added value was very low, and this was a problem if we wanted to reach one of our goals from this strategy. Our businesses were offering these very classical tourism packages, so like hotel, dinner, and so on. Destinations were not actively involved and weren't working that actively with their businesses. And we found that the offer in Slovenia was quite insufficient outside the high season. I think many countries have that problem. At first we did at the end of 2017, before setting up this label, we did a research of marketing potential on the markets that are most important for Slovenian tourism. These are Austria, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Poland, United Kingdom, and Russia. And we wanted to see how they saw us. So what were the specific problems that we wanted to address? And we found some very good things, but also some very disturbing things. So we found that people did see Slovenia as different from mass tourism, that we offered excellent value for money, that it was appropriate for explorers and adventurers, and that we had very strong offer of wellness and natural spas. And I would especially like to underline this third line, that it was very that Slovenia is very adequate for explorers and adventurers. As I said before, Slovenia is much less known than Croatia and Italy, and I think this comes from this fact that Slovenia is just simply much less known, and people have to dig a bit deeper to discover it. But what we found that didn't make us very happy was that Slovenia wasn't perceived as a boutique destination. People didn't see us as a country who had offer for discerning guests. We didn't have experiences that were worth paying more for. We didn't have rich culture and gastronomy, and we lacked, according to people we interviewed, we lacked unique accommodations and experiences. So obviously these were the areas that we wanted to address specifically, and we tried to address them with this Slovenia Unique Experiences program. So we found that we already had lots of startup businesses, and we also encouraged them by organizing hackathons and different innovation projects, such as Sejalec and Snovalec. Maybe some of you have heard of them. Those are projects that were in development, and then every year we chose the best ones and awarded them some money to enable them to develop further. Then we found that we already had many experiences that were already existent and ready for marketing. So we wanted to accredit them, to give them additional recognition, and we created this Slovenia Unique Experiences label. And with this, we wanted to encourage them even more to give them extra boost in marketing. So now the next step in the development of this program would be that these experiences were made ready for foreign markets and even more marketed abroad, and especially that they would have this consistent quality. Now the advantages for the products that are chosen as the Slovenia Unique Experiences are that they are included in the promotional channels of the Slovenian Tourist Board, just like the holders of the Slovenia Green Certificate, which is quite an advantage because we do have quite a large network of promotional channels. We have millions of followers only on our social media networks. So this is quite a motivation for businesses to join. We offer them quality enhancement. We organize workshops, trainings all the time. And also for them, it is a sort of a distinction, so they can put the Slovenia Green label on all of their promotional channels, and this helps to set them apart from other service providers. The advantage for us as the Slovenian Tourist Board and for Slovenia in general is that this gives us something concrete, some concrete bookable experience that we can market abroad that support this vision of Slovenia as a green boutique country. And with this program, we also reach this united understanding of a five-star experience. Because before, for many people, five-star experience includes a five-star hotel and top quality service. And of course, this is a five-star experience. But in Slovenia, since we don't have these big hotels and Monte Carlo casinos, for us, five-star has to be different. Five-star has to be natural, individual, so something very Slovenian. And for the advantages that this program offers for guests is mostly that it helps them choose very quickly which products are really top-notch. So who can apply? This is made for businesses, all types of businesses, also for destination organizations. So all of those organizations that also sell a certain product can apply, and of course, agencies. Now here I would like to stress that there are, of course, several different criteria to apply for the Slovenian Green label, for the Slovenia Unique Experiences label. I'm sorry. One of the most important ones is we insist that that these businesses that apply work under the principle of a one-stop shop. So the whole experience has to be bookable online. The organizer has to be known. So they don't communicate with the hotel and then with the agency and then with the different tour providers. So everything has to be organized by the same person. The experience has to be on the market for at least 6 months before application for the Slovenia Unique Experiences label. And it has to be, it also has to be on TripAdvisor, where they have to have the note of at least 4.5. Now, this is something that many businesses didn't like in the application criteria, because many of them weren't on TripAdvisor. So last year we removed this category, but we still insist on some of the other criteria. So once they apply, the application is quite long because they have to define what makes them boutique, individual, green. There is a jury where members evaluate the applications and they produce written reports. This jury consists of people from the Slovenian Tourist Board, from people from the Faculty of Economics here in Ljubljana, who also know a lot about tourism, and then from several very, very well-known businessmen from Slovenian tourism who are also very successful. If the application is successful, they are included in the communication channels of the Slovenian Tourist Board, and then in the following years we provide also quality management. Now here I would like to stress that many businesses apply to get this label, the Slovenian Unique Experiences label, but not many are chosen. So I think in the first year, in 2018, we had between 20 and 30 applications, and only 4 experiences were chosen to get the Slovenia Unique Experience label. So the criteria here is very harsh. It was also very difficult for us to define this boutique aspect of the experience. So the fact, so how do you really put something that is boutique and green, how do you put that in harsh criteria on paper? So we define this as experiences that are organized for smaller private groups for up to 4 or 7 people. What was also very important was that these experiences have local character, so they represent something that is only possible to be found in Slovenia, such as, for example, typical cuisine or caves and so on. I'm now going to enumerate some of these experiences just so you can see, just so you can see the examples. So among the first Slovenia Unique Experiences was Garden Village Bled, active getaway among the treetops. So this is something where you can spend the whole night or the whole weekend in a treetop house, and then you get to pick your own salad and so on. So really very natural experience. Then we have a soldier story from the Socha front. This was one of the fronts where the First World War took place. So it is very, very local. And I should also mention that all of these experiences are, of course, guided. So it is taken care of our guests every step along the way. Then we have Big Guy's Wine Highlights with the world's oldest wine in the Steierska region in the northwest, very known for the vineyards. We have kayaking adventure through the underground of Mount Pizza. The experience in the Socha Valley, from water to bread and milk. This is based on local agriculture in the Slovenian Alps. The Velenje Underground Experience, a gastronomic adventure 160 meters below the surface. This takes place in the old mine of Velenje that was opened for tourism visits. It has been open for tourism visits for years now. I've been there when I was in high school, and before it was only local open, for general museum visit, for school groups and so on. And now, a few years ago, they started organizing these dinners that can only be organized for a few people, and you get to eat this very typical miners dinner with very basic ingredients, but it's really made out to be really cool, really fancy. And also here I have to tell that these experiences are usually quite expensive, but this is also something that that is enriching the offer of Slovenia. And we do need also more expensive experiences to address the target groups that we want to address that I mentioned in the beginning. Then also in Ljubljana, you have the Masteš tour, and this is more of a literal tourism product, more about literature. I have a special experience at the Ljubljana Castle. So you can, of course, visit the castle anytime you want. It is open for everyone. But this in this way, you can spend the whole day with a special guide. You eat special castle middle-aged dinner, and so on. Then we have the vintage gourmet tour in Slovenian Istria, and the unforgettable day at the Fonda fish farm. And also the footsteps of the first cave explorers. This is something that takes place in the Postojna cave, and I'm going to talk a bit about it a little bit later. And the last one, the Slovenian wildlife break, which is also a guided tour through southern Slovenia. So if I give you the example of this cave tour, that was one of the first Slovenia unique experiences. This is, for example, how it looks like. This is taken from their website. The cost is quite high. As you can see in the off season, it's 238 euros per person, and it only takes a few hours, so it doesn't last 2 or 3 days. So it includes a meeting with the guide and then a welcome snack. And then the main part is when you descend in the Postojna cave with a special speleologist with a special guide. As you all know, Postojna cave is very, very touristic. You can go in every hour. You have guided tours in different languages. But this experience is so special because you can only go in very small groups, and you go in as a speleologist. So you don't follow the paths that other people follow, but you have to crawl in the dirt, and you have to climb, and you get out all muddy. So it really is something very, very special. You also shouldn't be too claustrophobic. So this is something that is very different, very distinctive from just a general Postojna cave tour. And it shows that even the biggest tourist attractions can form experiences that are once in a lifetime and unforgettable. And the third category I would like to focus on is gastronomy. So we started developing gastronomy we started promoting gastronomy more intensively about 2 years ago, because at the Slovenian Tourist Board, every 2 years, we choose a special theme that we want to give an extra boost to promotionally in the following 2 years. And for the years 2020 and 2021, this was gastronomy. And I think this was very important for Slovenia, because also before, I think maybe we weren't so proud of our cuisine, of our offer, because, you know, when you think about gastronomy and cuisine, you always think about Italy and France and those countries that are really known for gastronomy. But then we found that we had local important things in Slovenia as well. And what was distinctive for us was this local value, this very natural environment, because in Slovenia, many people have their own garden next to the house. They have their own, they grow their own salad, their own carrots. And this also translates to restaurants and chefs, because they're used to picking their own ingredients and then make them in their restaurants. So what we did that was very important for restaurants and chefs and private businesses was that we brought to Slovenia the 2 biggest gastronomy guides in the world, Michelin and Goemio. And Michelin was quite an investment, of course, Goemio also, but in the years afterwards, so Michelin, we got the first Michelin starred restaurants only last year in 2020. In the past year, many chefs came to us and they told us that this was something that was extremely important for them personally, for the development of gastronomy. And this also, I think, raises the level of other restaurants in Slovenia. So this wasn't just something to promote Slovenia in general, but it was also something that helped promote specific businesses and restaurants. And it goes the same for Goemio. We also established this new website, the Taste Slovenia website, where we put all of the restaurants that get some distinction. For example, that are included in the Michelin guide or in the Goemio, or that get the Slovenia Green Cuisine label. So we are really bringing them together, and we are publishing them in newsletters regularly and so on. Another important thing that we do in close cooperation with tourism businesses and restaurants is the Restaurant Week. I don't know, maybe you have it in other countries as well, This started in Slovenia some years ago already. And the point of this project is that we promote the high cuisine, the high quality cuisine among Slovenians, among general folk who don't go to Michelin-starred restaurants every week. The Slovenian Tourist Board is partner in this restaurant week only since last year. We weren't partners from the beginning, but I think it's a great idea. So it happens twice a year. It lasts for 10 days. And during those 10 days, the restaurants that participate, they promise to give to sell menus that aren't above the price of 25 euros. So even the fanciest, the best restaurants can only offer menus that cost up to 25 euros. Then of course you have the wine and other drinks, so that comes extra. But it really is something that promotes top quality cuisine. And in the first place, it's meant for local population. So for a normal Slovenian, so now even a normal Slovenian with a normal paycheck can go to a really fancy restaurant and taste a really fancy Slovenian food. And I think this was a great initiative that started some years ago, and now we are participating with a promotion, and also we are co-financing a part of the promotion. Promotionally, of course, we also support other restaurants and other chefs. For example, we publish their tourism packages on our website, as you can see in the right part of the screen. We do online marketing all the time, because the main work area of the Slovenian Tourist Board is still promotion. And then this very last pillar isn't so much promotional, but it's very educational. It's the Marketing and Management Academy of Slovenian Tourism that we made a few years ago, and is meant for destinations and also service providers and tourism businesses. Now, Digital Marketing Academy already started 3 years ago, and it offers lessons in digital marketing. Because we found that here at the Slovenian Tourist Board, we do have very developed communication channels, marketing, and so on. And we always require contents from businesses and restaurants and hotels, because we cannot provide all of the photos ourselves. We can provide all of the text ourselves. We need people to send them to us. And we need these texts to be in English. We need the photos to be in really high quality. And from time to time, and the quality lacked, especially with smaller destinations and smaller businesses. So we decided to make our work, to make it easier for us and to educate people exactly what the trends are, how the technology is developing. I think the level really is rising. And then last year, we started with the Management Academy as well. And this is more on the, as it's written, on the managerial level. So it's more meant for destinations and business directors. And here we had 3 pillars. One of them was sustainability. So we tried to explain why sustainability was important, what are the trends in tourism marketing today, how to address different target groups. This really theoretical level, but there was really a lot of interest. And then, of course, all the time we offer practical training and additional seminars as need be, such as trainings for tourist guides, congress organizers, and so on. So as I said, the main point of this academy is to improve the competitiveness of Slovenian tourism, promote this vision and philosophy of Slovenian tourism to really unite all of the stakeholders in Slovenian tourism, that we should promote ourselves as green, that this is our main competitive advantage against other countries. So here you can see it's very technical. In the Digital Academy in 2020 only had 32 participants, because this pillar also includes some coaching. So during the academy, each destination and each business has to write their own digital strategy as to how they're going to promote their business in the following year. And this is why the participation was only limited to 32 people. But there was a lot of interest for the Management Academy, where we had over 100 participants. It had 6 webinars, and each webinar lasted the whole day, and it was really well received. Management Academy, it was first organized last year, but we are going to continue this year as well. And then just to conclude very shortly, our path to recovery. So how we are going to develop tourism further after Corona crisis. First of all, we realized we had to ensure safe and unique experiences. That this is something that people will be looking for in the future. We had to mitigate the current crisis, but this is mostly something that the ministry takes care of. So with financings and subsidies and so on. We have to understand the new consumer because the behavior is going to change. We are already maximizing the use of digital technology, and we realized it was really important to build relationships with tourists and local communities, so that this tourism communication should be more on the individual level and we are not trying to address or to promote mass tourism. Now, just some examples on how we went about these 5 pillars. Last year, right after the season started again in June, we published or we created this green and safe label that was later also acknowledged by the WTTC. And we encourage tourism businesses and destinations to use it. So everyone can use it. They only have to register online on our website, and then they get digital materials and templates. And we really encourage hotels, restaurants, and everyone to put this green and safe label on their websites, on their leaflets, to get the message that Slovenia is safe to everyone, to every foreign visitor. We also created this manual with responsible standards of Slovenian tourism, and as I said, it was recognized by the Safe Travels by the WTTC. There was some additional financing for destinations, companies, product associations, tourist agencies, tourist guides, and airline providers. This financing was ensured by the Slovenian Tourist Board and also by the ministry. And at the Slovenian Tourist Board, we also made this campaign, Zdaj je čas moja Slovenija, which roughly translates as now is the time, my Slovenia. So last year, when a lot of people decided to spend their holidays at home and not to travel to other countries, we wanted to encourage that. Of course, like every other country had very strong campaigns to encourage people to spend their holidays at home in the home country. And we launched this campaign, Moja Slovenia. And this was one of the first activities that we did on domestic market, because before we mostly communicated abroad. This was also our first function. And last year we changed a little bit because we had no choice. And I think this was really well received. And we worked very closely with businesses here as well. And then we organized different business events and educational events online, because before there were lots of workshops abroad, lots of tourism fairs and shows. And last year we were forced to move online as everyone else. And we always mostly include businesses in these presentations. So we always open a public call. For example, we organize a presentation of the outdoor offer of Slovenia for the British market. And then we publish a public call where all of the businesses that are in the outdoor events industry, they can apply, and then we choose some of them based on different criteria, and they get to present their offer directly on foreign markets. So this is one type of event that we organize, the Feel Slovenia Business Date. And we also organize online training for travel agents and travel organizers. This is like a quiz to educate them, so it will be easier for them to bring their groups to Slovenia once the tourism starts to reopen for real. And then we also we encourage digitalization a lot. In the last 2 years, destinations were able to apply for to a public call from a ministry, and they got the money to digitalize their cultural heritage. So our way forward remains green, safe, and healthy and sustainable. And we are really trying to reach this boutique and authentic vision of Slovenia. And I think we are going to continue with that philosophy. I think we are also a little bit lucky because Slovenia has been developing this green, sustainable philosophy for 10 years before the corona hit. And I think this makes it a little bit easier for us because we don't have to develop a whole new approach to marketing, but we just have to reinforce what we are already saying here. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope this was you got some useful information. As I said, I come from a national organization, and so maybe I see things differently from businesses, but in any case, we are trying to work very closely with business providers and service providers. And maybe this is a little bit easier in Slovenia because it's a very small country and everybody knows everybody. But still, we are quite active. And this is my contact. If anyone would be interested, you can also send me an email later. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Masha. That was very inspiring, actually, for all of us. We have quite a few questions here. Maybe the first one, Eva Benson. She asked, Dear Masha, do you provide help education for those not present on TripAdvisor in order to become present? Is there also possibility of a financial aid to businesses? If yes, in which way?
So for TripAdvisor specifically, we don't offer any training, but it is included in the Digital Academy that I mentioned. So this is not every year, but it also depends on the experts that are involved in the academy in that year. But so yes, we pay attention to TripAdvisor as much as to other tools, but no, there are no specific trainings just for TripAdvisor.
Okay, thank you.
In terms of financing?
Yeah, financing relating to businesses, stakeholders, etc., service providers.
Well, at the Slovenian Tourist Board, we have the public calls that I mentioned. So last year we published one for subsidies for agencies and tourist guides. But for tourist guides, it was because of the situation and the corona crisis. But otherwise, before that, we only had one public call where people could apply with their innovative products. And we chose 3 products per year, and each of them got between 5,000 and 10,000 euros, depending on the year, to develop the product further. But before, we didn't have that many. We didn't offer that many financial subsidies because in Slovenia, this is mostly the job of the ministry, so the system is a bit different.
Thank you. Another question from Tomislav. How did you manage to communicate and convince the local population and stakeholders that they will have benefits of implementation of the green philosophy? Do you have any disagreement between stakeholders? Because you mentioned that you started actually in 2009. Now it's probably easier because they see the benefits, but at that time?
Yeah, exactly. In the beginning, it actually took a few years to really unite all of the stakeholders in this philosophy, because before every destination had their own advantages, and they were underlining different things in marketing. But then we started with this very united communication. So for years we were selling Slovenia abroad as green, and people saw that if they wanted to fit more into our general presentations, they had to provide green offer. And it also helped that in Slovenia, the government and the ministry, they also work in that direction. Also, if you look at our logo, the I Feel Slovenia, this isn't just the logo of the Slovenian Tourist Board, it's the logo of the Slovenian government, and Slovenia in general is green. So I think it took a few years, but it's just, we didn't really have to convince anyone. We just did our own thing for years. And then I think people started to see that this was the best way to go in. And I think also general global trends started to develop in that way. So it just went hand in hand, maybe.
Yes, thank you. I would like to invite Borna to join the discussion, and then I will continue with the Q&As.
Thank you. So for start, congratulations to Ms. Klemencic on the impressive work they're doing in Slovenia regarding the whole marketing thing and the certificate schemes. I believe that the beauty of successful stories lies in its simplicity. So, for instance, you were talking about these Velenia undergrounds, mine lefts. So it makes someone wonder how on earth someone hasn't come up with this idea earlier. So it's really interesting, and we've heard about so many innovative concepts and inventive ways of presenting the resources and the attractions. However, my question is similar to Professor Klarin's one. So you were talking about this COVID-19 and also told that it was kind of blessing in disguise because the stakeholders, they had more time to learn about the certificates and the advantages they could have if they implement them. However, I would like to hear more about some challenges you had. So, for instance, I believe you've been interacting with the key stakeholders, with the service providers. So what about the feedback received from them? What were the main the obstacles for them not to engage in certificate programs? So what were the adverse, not adverse effect, but some disadvantages, how you overcame these obstacles? That's what interests me.
Yeah, I think the main obstacle is that getting a certificate involves a lot of work and a lot of bureaucracy, because when a hotel decides to get, for example, Travel Globe, we at the Slovenian Tourist Board, we don't actually help them get Travel Globe. They have to get it themselves, and then they can apply for the Slovenia Green Label. These were some of the comments that it includes, of course, some money and also a lot of work and time to get all the papers to prove that they are really sustainable enough to get the Green Globe. So what we do at the Slovenian Tourist Board, we organize trainings, we share as much information as possible, and we are also on call if anyone needs any information about who to turn to help them with Travel Globe, what are the criteria, what are what exactly it entails. We are always here, but our help is mostly in communication. So unfortunately we cannot help them more, but then we try to motivate them by really promoting them as much as possible through our communication channels. So yeah, I think this was the main this still is the main obstacle, that it's very time consuming.
Thank you. We have another question from Antonia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
First of all, thank you, Ms. Klevencic, for the presentation. It was really great, and in my opinion, many should follow the example of Slovenia or their path of development, not only in this context, but in many others. So you mentioned some of the challenges that Slovenia faced and how you approach them. One of the challenges, as well as the pillar of sustainable development, is higher added value. So my question is, did you manage to address that challenge, and how you did that? Also, do you have any data or indicators of success in this area? Thank you.
Yeah, that is a very good question, and it's actually the biggest challenge that we have in Slovenia, mostly in Slovenian tourism, mostly because higher added value doesn't only concern us as a marketing agency, but it really depends on good infrastructure and also good flight connections and so on. So I think the goal that we set in the strategy 2017-2021 wasn't achieved. It wasn't achieved because of Corona, because arrivals and overnights fell. But even if there was no coronavirus crisis, I don't think we would achieve it. So I think one way we tried to address it in this promotional way, which is our main area of work, was to create this Slovenia Unique Experiences brand. So this is how we went about it. First, we wanted to identify the experiences that already exist in Slovenia and give them a special promotional boost. And then we also developed this academy for marketing and digital academy. And this was another way how we address this. So by educating businesses and destinations, by giving them training. Unfortunately, at the Slovenian Tourist Board, this is mostly what we can do, because our main job is promotion and also education. But then to address it more successfully, we would also need better infrastructure, more investments, better flight connections. And this isn't only up to us, but should be solved at the international level. And I think this remains one of the main challenges of Slovenian tourism.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer, and Antonia for the question. We have a couple of more questions. Tomislav is asking, what are the real benefits of the project Green Slovenia for the local community, and how does the project contribute to the sustainable tourism of Slovenia? A bit tricky.
Yeah, but for the local community, the advantages lie mostly in the Slovenia Green Destination label, which I didn't mention as much because we mostly focused on businesses. So destinations can also get the Slovenia Green label. And if a destination, for example, the city of Ljubljana, wants to do that, they have to follow 100 criteria. And among those criteria are also, for example, they have to carry out surveys among local population and among inhabitants, and have to interview them on what bothers them in the destination, what they would like to improve, whether they think there are too many tourists. So the destinations are obligated to follow the opinion of the public. And I think this is one very big advantage, because local population gets to have their say in tourism. And these destinations, if they want to get the Slovenia Green label, they have to include the local population in the strategy development. So when the new tourism strategy of a destination is written, they have to organize workshops and they have to invite local inhabitants. So then they also have to take care of environmental aspects such as I don't know, pollution. They have to take care of ecology and so on. So yes, for local population, the advantages mostly lie in this, and also the whole philosophy, because behind the Slovenia Green Destination label is that a destination should firstly be made great for local population and only then for tourists.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. First the locals and then the tourists who are coming. And that's our actually next question from Professor Krca Mirčić. She's actually asking, have you carried out maybe some assumptions or surveys about the carrying capacity of Slovenia as total as a destination or some destinations? So do you know how many tourists can come or can be accommodated in some destinations in Slovenia? And how do you know how much is too much?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any concrete data at the moment. We did start some projects just in the year before Corona in cooperation with the Faculty of Economics here in Ljubljana. And also we are part of the ESPAN, on one of the ESPAN projects that focused on that. And what we found was that it was very hard to define carrying capacity, or actually it was hard to find how many tourists are too many, or especially to establish tourism flows, because we wanted to do that based on mobile data. And then we found that you can't use mobile data in every way you wanted because of the data protection and so on. But we are going to work on it in the next year. In the frame of the Green Scheme of Slovenian Tourism, we are going to establish a special platform, and we are also working with some computer firms in Slovenia that are going to give us tools that will make it easier. So this is the next big step in the Green Scheme. Now we have a lot of destinations and a lot of businesses. And now we can do this type of research, and we can include all of these destinations in this technical platform. So it's the next big thing in the Green Scheme.
Yeah, that will be great actually when you have the data about the carrying capacity. And some additional questions related to that. Do you maybe have some data about the increase of tourists coming to Slovenia because of the labeling and the marketing activities of Green Slovenia. I mean, that's the hardest part in marketing. It's very hard to measure why the people came. Is it because of the marketing campaign or something else?
Yeah, we get that question a lot, but unfortunately I don't have the answer because it's impossible to measure. We can measure how for example, how often this green website is visited, but this doesn't really say whether people then really come to Slovenia. So unfortunately, no. And I don't know how we would go about it, actually.
Yeah, just the same survey in the destination or so, but still it's not real data. But yes, thank you for all the answers that you have given us and for your time and best practices and everything that you have showed us. If there are no more questions, I would like to thank you and Eva for the presentations today. It was great to hear about best practices, examples from the field actually, and from other destinations. And again, thank you for joining our workshop. Hopefully we'll stay in touch and maybe do some projects together in the future. Thank you again, Masha and Eva, for your time and everything that you have presented us.
Pleasure.
At the end of this workshop, I'll just share again my slides related to the social media channels that we have. So if you have any questions related to the Take It Slow project, just visit our Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or our official website. There you can find a lot of interesting materials, also informations related to further events, such as the third Smart Specialization workshop that will be organized on the 7th of July. So hopefully we'll see you again there. If you have any further questions, just send us an email to Katarina or to any one of us. So we will be very happy to share with you everything that we know, and hopefully we will continue to network in the future. I think the main conclusion from this workshop is that we have to foster knowledge related to sustainability, to green and slow tourism, to foster our knowledge and experiences related to innovations and to implement them in all the services and products that we have in our destinations. Another key issue that we have in all the destinations all around the world, actually the lack of cooperation between stakeholders. I think that is the main point when talking about sustainability. So we can learn a lot from Slovenia and all the green schemes that they are implementing. So hopefully you had a very interesting and useful time during this workshop. And I'm looking forward to see you on the 7th of July. Thanks again, Masha, Eva, and Katarina and Franica, and for all the questions that came to the participants and attendees. And see you then next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.